Hi, we're at our podcast. We just finished our live radio show with Alex Villanueva. Don is going to step off his mic because we have a special guest. We have John, your last name is? Satterfield, and you?
I had the honor of being Alex's chief of staff, and my last day in uniform was the last day that he was in uniform, and we walked out of the building together.
Okay, so you know what? Just in case people don't really know, what exactly does the chief of staff do? Because I think nobody really has a clue what it is. And if we relied on the U.S. government to tell us what our chief of staff does, we definitely are confused.
As chief of staff, it was my job to know everything that he knew and everything that everyone else knew.
Okay.
And try to serve as an advisor, and at the same time keeping everything running. There's a lot of plates to spin when you have an organization that
has 10,000 employees.
Actually about 19,000 employees, considering non-sworn.
Okay.
You've got.
And so, how long were you on the department?
32 years, 7 months, 14 days.
I love it. Officers always give you the exact date and time.
You forgot the 3 hours.
Yes, you forgot
there
3
were
hours.
a couple hours. Just my quick bio is from 1985 to 1991. I served in the United States Marine Corps.
Thank you for your service.
It was my pleasure. I am a combat veteran of the first Gulf War. I joined the LA Sheriff's Department in 1991 and was led a great career and was able to end it with the best sheriff that we've ever had since 1850.
He's too kind.
I retired at the rank of commander, and it was a great time, and loved every minute of it, and it really has filled my heart being able to serve the community and being able to help as many people as a healthy career allows you to do.
Well, we are so grateful that you were able to serve under Alex and that you have been such a huge component of what the Sheriff's Department looked like for those 4 years. And so while we went off the air, one of the things we talked about was how humble you are about your degrees. And then you introduced John and said, I wasn't the only one with a doctorate. And you said that you guys were the only two in the department at that time with doctorate degrees.
He actually motivated me. I have two people that pushed me in my education. I started out with a PhD when I graduated high school, a plain high school diploma. And that's where the insert laugh.
I was like, PhD, hold on
Well, there's 4 levels of degrees. There's a plain high school diploma. Then there's an all shit degree, AS. Then there's a bullshit degree. Then it's piled higher and deeper.
Piled higher and deeper, PhD.
You guys are too funny.
But Alex and another good friend, Joe Quire, they pushed me to seek higher education, and I'm glad they did because it allowed me to serve at a much higher and more efficient level.
And what's your doctorate in?
Education from the University of Southern California, master's degree in public administration.
Wow, so you guys both have the same master's degree.
Mm-hmm. And it served us very well because we could speak in a language that we could understand, and it wasn't theoretical.
But there's an important component that both of us have that is it realizes the strength of education is that, and this is what Dr. Mandel Stewart, one of my first professors at Laverne, told me, is that theory informs practice and practice informs theory. They go hand in hand, the two. So when you're all theory and no practice, you're at the academics who are clueless about the real world. And we have the real world politicians with no academic or theoretical background. They're just spinning their tails, running in circles, doing nothing that advances because they lack the theoretical framework. When you marry the two things together, now you're starting to fire on all cylinders and make things happen. And in spite of all the opposition we faced the 4 years, I want to say our 4 years in office were probably the most reforms and changing the organization probably in the last 40 years.
Absolutely.
Well, John, you mentioned something about his doctorate that we didn't talk about on live air, and how his doctorate transformed the department within 2 to 3 years. So I'm going to let you talk about it because he's too humble to talk about it. So I'm going to hand the mic to you. He's over there like, I'm not going to say anything.
About 2 years into...
We'll talk about what his doctorate's in so that we know what it is.
Okay, it's Doctor of Public Administration, And give me the exact title of your dissertation again.
Leadership, diversity, and law enforcement.
And about 2 years into the administration, the roadmap that Alex had set forth in his theoretical framework of an academic achievement, we saw in reality. The organization actually became the most diverse organization in law enforcement in history, not only for our department, but for the entire nation.
So was that while you were on the department as the sheriff, or was it prior to becoming the sheriff?
No, as sheriff.
As sheriff, 2 years into his term.
Okay, so you implemented your thesis into.
I made reality what was theoretical.
Correct. Okay.
And for example, there's other law enforcement agencies that are striving to bring their female officer percentages up into the mid-teens.
Based on what their capabilities are, not the fact they're female.
No. Actually, some of them it's frankly just because it's a checkbox. With our organization, we were able to attract good people. And with that came 19% females.
Okay, that's what I meant, what I just
Yes,
said.
I wanted
with
to.
your theory, you were able to attract the right talent, Alex, to bring the right people in that naturally filled that diversity quota
Right.
or whatever you're looking for.
Because we wanted to end the practice of doing a casting call for the entire nation
Right.
to get people to apply. No, we need to
Hometown
bring in
heroes.
people from LA County. So we created the Hometown Heroes recruitment program, and it worked. We hired only from LA County, and we hired from every neighborhood, no matter how disadvantaged or ill-represented in the public sphere. We hired them. And all of a sudden, we started looking like the community. Oh, my God. And that is the whole concept. It's called a representative bureaucracy, where your body politic actually represents
your body of population.
the population, and we actually represented it. And then we took metrics that I used from my dissertation and how to measure diversity, and we could actually see the needle just move where it used to be a male white dominated leadership structure, because it was literally the good old boy network.
Right.
We eliminated the good old boy network, and there was pains of growth obviously in the process. But the outcome was, and again, outcome, not output, but the outcome was that, oh shit, everyone has a chance to succeed based on their own merits. And that was my goal from the beginning. Because with that, the morale of the organization gets a huge shot in the arm. There's nothing more dispiriting than realize you cannot advance because you don't check the right box or you don't know the right people.
Right.
No, it's you do the best work, you get the best grades and get the experience. Hey, you're in the running and you're going to achieve your whatever your career goals are.
It's amazing to me that your education was never discussed anytime during your term in office. Never. No one ever brought it up. No one talked about it. If anything, I think people tried to bury it. No one ever took this doctorate dissertation that you put together, your theory, put it into action, and actually had a positive outcome for the entire community of LA County. I mean, that's a huge, forget the fact that you saved the county $100 million or whatever it was. You actually took the county of Los Angeles and made a law enforcement department look just like its population.
I don't even think we can measure. There's no metric to measure how many good things that in and of itself achieved. But I'll give you one that just comes to mind right now as I was hearing Alex speak. It's outcome versus output. If we say we have a homeless crisis, well, we spent $25 million on it. Mm-hmm. That's not telling you we solved it.
No.
That's telling you how much it
That's your
doubled.
output.
It doubled, but that's output. It's not outcome. Outcome is a solution. It's how we solved it. We stopped dealing with outputs and we dealt with solutions and outcomes. The Hometown Heroes program. One of the things that theoretically and academically we've learned is the law enforcement profession, because of the manner in which some communities feel about law enforcement, the profession is prone to an us versus them mentality.
Right.
And you have to work very hard as supervisors and managers to keep that from happening. Well, who's more prone to take an us versus them mentality with a community. Someone that grew up 3,000 miles away, moved here 2 years ago, and is now policing the community, or someone that was born, raised, and still lives in this community.
Right.
Who's less prone to take an us versus them? Hometown heroes are definitely less prone. A lot of problems got solved just through diversity. And again, diversity does not just mean ethnic or gender or sexual orientation. It also means thought.
Well,
And-
I mean, I think it means thought. I think it means, like you said, Alex, it's the theory that's put into place that comes to reality. And it's really, I think you proved the most important part with that no one's talking about, is that you created that diversity that everyone's always hiring for, that just, oh, she checked the box, he checked the box, the color checked the box, the gender, or whatever that is that checked the box. You managed to fill all those boxes just naturally through your dissertation and doctorate. And I think that's the thing that no one's talking about. These are things that are really important.
The very first year we were in office, 2019, we hired 1,100 deputies in 1 year. I think we set a record.
That's a
for the
lot of
department.
people.
And they said it could not be done. It was impossible. We had studies that said there were low birth counts
Oh, they had all kinds
and
of.
all sorts of
crap.
studies from these blue ribbon panels.
And then they're saying that, oh, well, the environment is so tough to recruit anyway. I said, bullshit. It is easy to recruit. Rule number one, and this, you got to write these down. Don't be a jerk of an employer.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And people do not understand that. People think that, oh, if I just fire as many people as possible and look good in front of the corporate media and the progressives, that, I'll be hailed as a hero. No, that means that no one's going to trust you with their family members, with their neighbors, their friends. They're not going to recommend. Your employees are your number one recruiter. When they believe in you, they will recruit.
Yep.
And we prove that, because we literally turned that around almost by the day as soon as we took off. In fact, by the time we had the results of the election, the results started pouring in on the recruitment side.
Wow.
They started going through the roof. People started applying like crazy.
Well, and it's interesting, because when you look at your doctorate theory and how you put it into action. So like you said, if you have a happy employee, they're going to refer another employee to be happy. So now you have your heroes, and you have someone who's like, say, from Don's work neighborhood, East LA, and a kid on the block, 18, says, I'm going to apply for South Central. Sorry. I'm going to apply for the sheriff's department. And this kid gets in. He's maybe had a few little run-ins with the law, but society wants to take a chance. Good leadership says, you know what? He's 18. He's here. He's looking to make a difference. Let's see if we can groom him into being a really good officer. He has the qualities. He's made his mistakes. We're going to let that go. And let's see how he does through the academy. He does well. The next thing you know, he's got two friends. One might be a gay, transsexual, lesbian, I don't know, who happens to want to be in the department, who's going to do great things. You're going to hire them because they're fabulous, not because they fit the box of the gay, trans, lesbian, whatever, but because this individual decided to just like, well, maybe they'll hire me, and you took that chance on the 18-year-old. Now they brought in somebody else, and like you said, you're naturally going to get, and you prove that theory. You prove that theory.
And here's the secret. If you take your thumb off of the scale and allow everything to reach its natural buoyancy, you will be left with the perfect workforce. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is create the environment, knock down the barriers, and it'll take care of itself.
Now, this is one of the tragedies of the Board of Supervisor interference with the department. When they imposed the hiring freeze, while they were sitting on a $2 billion budget surplus, they
That's a
did a
lot of money.
hiring freeze on our department, which meant that we lost the entire candidate pool, walked away. They're going to move on with their lives. We lost the entire apparatus that we had, the recruitment, the background investigators, all the staff. It was a huge operation that was just grinded to a halt overnight. We were raising the bar on the academic standard. We became the first sheriff's department to go from a high school diploma minimum to an associate's degree.
And,
Wow.
and sponsored legislation.
Yes. And all these things, we were firing all cylinders, and they're in the infinite wisdom, let's destroy all this all this progress.
And they told us if you raise the education requirements to an AA minimum, you'll never be able to fill your hiring requirements.
See, and I think that's a bunch of bullshit. You know why?
It is.
Because if you wanted to be on the sheriff's department and you go, if I have to get my AA, what's it, 2 years of college, I can get it done. And if the sheriff's department said, all right, we'll start looking at you when you get your first year down, and we will look at you, we'll let you go into, a training program, non-paid, just so you know what you're getting into, and you need to graduate in another year, and we will hire you. And then you've got someone who's pre-trained, you got someone who's met the requirements, and you know they're committed to the job. Someone who's going to be committed to the job, and you ask them to do something, you're going to get someone who's going to do their 25 years and do it proudly. And that's the part people don't understand.
So what they got in response as a result of their interference, they dropped obviously the AA standard. Now went back to high school. Then it went below high school because now we're hiring people that are not U.S. citizens.
Oh, yeah.
Who don't have
DACA.
a high school education. You have all these things going on. Now they're hiring the people that we rejected. And if the associate's degree was something that was going to be might reduce the available candidate pool, you get a better quality candidate pool.
Of course.
Because now people are attracted to a higher perceived qualifications. They're attracted to excellence,
But guess
not
what
lower
else
bars.
you get? You get a population that's afraid or doesn't like the police, and now you've said to them, listen, we heard you. We heard that you're afraid of the police, that you think they're corrupt, and there's that and the other thing. So now you have the sheriff's department says, we're going to up the ante. You've got to have an AA degree. All of a sudden, the little guy down the street who's had nothing but problems with the police department because he's gotten cops that he thinks weren't fair. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But he's got that perception. It doesn't matter how he got it, but he has it. Now you've got the ability to maybe make his perception feel a little bit more at ease. You have someone who's got an AA degree. You've got someone that was his kid's neighbor or his neighbor's kid that's now in the department that he knows. So now he's going to come and he's like, hey, I got my education. I hear your problems. You're not wrong. Let's see if we can work together. And now you've done exactly what you set out to do. So let's talk about what Karen Bass is going to do when we have the Olympics here in 4 years, because we don't have a police department.
I'm going to make a prediction here. You've heard it here first. This is what's going to happen. One, LAPD and the sheriffs are still shrinking in size.
Yep.
They're not growing. They're shrinking.
Yep.
And they're not going to turn that beast around.
Nope.
It's not within them. For starters. So whatever they have today, minus probably at least 1,000 in both agencies, 4 years from now. At least.
Yeah, that's 250 officers a year, and I think you're being kind.
Their go-to response is going to be, we're going to nationalize the Guard, and we're going to deploy the Guard everywhere during the Olympics. Yes, and you're going to have people...
We're going to the military.
They're going to militarize them, and they'll say, well, you know what? We need to soften their look because we don't seem like we're in a police state. So they're going to do all these things and jump through all these...
They're going to put them in Olympic gear wear, I'm sure.
They'll put them in polo shirts with collars, with
a little badge and
little logo, something, and try to soften the look. But that's going to be their go-to response. It won't be, hey, you know what? We really screwed the pooch on this whole defunding law enforcement thing and open hostility. Just as an exercise, an academic exercise, take the state legislator, just from the year 2020,
God help
the
us
summer
all.
of Lodge of George Floyd, that year, look at all the legislation, put it in 2 columns. Cop legislation and crook legislation. You're going to have 2 columns. Everything has to do with law enforcement. Look what it is. Let's make the job as difficult as impossible because cops are actually crooks. And look at all the legislation for criminals. Let's make life as easy as possible for criminals. Wow. Yep. They've done that for years. And now we can't seem to attract anybody to the job. Oh, my God. Wow.
Why would anyone want to go to the work?
How about you get out of the friggin' way, for starters, apologize, and let's go a new chapter where accountability means, yes, let's hold people accountable when they do wrong. But they can't admit that. Like the death of Anthony Vargas, Andres Guardado.
Which one was he?
Actually, Vargas was one. That was another.
Yeah.
But Anthony Vargas, Paul Rea, Andres Guardado, Gijon Kesey, all those cases, prime example. The ones that there was misconduct, we took the action, we investigated them properly, we referred them to prosecution, we made terminations. We did everything by the book. But the cop haters and the politicians can't admit that. They have to still sell the idea, oh my God, no one's accountable. What are we going to do? We need to do police reform. No, we're recruiting, we're hiring from the human race. It's never going to be, there's no such thing as perfect policing. There's going to be bad outcomes. And as long as they're dealt with responsibly, shut up.
Right.
Acknowledge it and move on.
Another thing 2020 taught our nation is cops are not entitled to due process.
Nope.
We want instant, split-second punishments.
Public hangings preferable, if we could.
We'll have a fair trial, and then we'll hang them.
Well, but here's the other thing, though, too. We've also allowed the media to get involved, and we've allowed the media to give a snippet of an incident, which when they decide which snippet they like, and they're going to plaster a cop out there as being the bad guy because all you see is him shooting the individual, and you never put into context of how we got there.
I'll give you a prime example. I'm glad you said that. The famous case of the San Fernando Valley Court lockup, the fake cover-up. Videotape, inmate assaults deputy responds, they take care of business. There was a investigation. Appropriate action was taken. There was no violation of policy, but it was sold as a cover-up.
Yeah.
This gentleman right here, very modestly, he wrote a 31-page rebuttal, pretty much, if we want to call it that, to 12 articles that the Times wrote about it. Oh my God, this! Oh my God, 12 articles in a row.
Jesus.
And 3 lawsuits.
Yeah, 3 lawsuits.
In which you and I were both not only named in our professional capacity.
Oh yeah.
But in our personal.
Oh my God, they went to town on this. And when he pieced together all the evidence and all the facts, and it was spot on, crickets from the media.
Never another article in the LA Times.
No.
Stopped them dead in their tracks.
You've never heard of that case ever since.
Yeah, isn't that amazing how that happens? But let's look at the 28 Olympics. But what we got coming in, I think it is the
World Cup 26.
Yes, World Cup. Now,
is it next year? College football championship next year, I think, 25?
Isn't that a USC?
Yeah.
I think it's
Are they
coming
doing
up.
it at the USC?
I don't know if LA Sheriff got asked to help that one. That'll be an LAPD and USC public safety.
It's going to be at the Coliseum?
I think it's at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that'll be at USC.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, that worked out well this last couple of weeks with the
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the college police have shown really well because I actually have a friend of mine who sent me the video of the mother that called in to UCLA about why her son wasn't able to get on campus to go to the library. So that's on my Instagram, Jeffy Said What. And I'm just telling you, people don't realize we are screwed with the college football that's going to be here, the national champions. But I'm sorry, the World Cup is going to be a shit show on a level we've never seen before because those people party and they're violent, and every single city that holds the World Cup is always looking back going, what the hell were we thinking? Because they never have enough police. They never have enough anything when it comes to the World Cup because soccer players just go on the field and they just start killing people. They don't even care. They just start beating people up. I just want to know how.
Don't forget about Colombia.
Don's laughing because it's true. Am I wrong?
You remember in the 90s when the Colombian player
That's
kicked
what
it to
I'm
the
talking
goalie
about.
and the goalie missed it? They killed him 2 days later.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's it I'm talking about.
Auto goal.
These people are
They
ruthless.
took his head.
Huh?
They took his head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's what we're bringing 2 years before the Olympics. So when you say they're going to bring the National Guard, they're not going to bring the National Guard for that. They're going to bring it for the Olympics because they're going to realize they fucked that shit up over the World Cup.
Well, the sad thing is it's another story that the press is not reporting. There's such a massive loss of personnel in both the sheriffs and LAPD. It's mind-boggling. Yet it's like no one wants to talk about it.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of LAPD.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, they can't wait to just retire.
I've
Record
heard
retirements,
I-
record
yeah.
IOD
Yep,
claims.
I've heard a lot of people saying that they're going to retire right before the Olympics because they don't want to go through it. They don't even want to live here when it happens. And that's the other thing. What construction has anybody seen for the Olympics? Has anyone seen anything? What are they going to do with
That's
this?
the only advantage that LA has for the most part. I think outside of canoeing.
And equestrian, the equestrian, they've got a problem with the equestrians. The equestrians have no, they have not, there's no place to put 180 horses that are coming in for the dressage, the show jumping, and for the cross country.
They might split up between industry and
No, industry can't do it. They're either going to have to do Temecula because they have the cross country field that would be an international field that's qualified, and then they're talking about something in Moore Park. But they're going to have to split it up. The problem is when you look at eventing has show jumping, and you need eventing to be close to the show jumping. So they've got a problem. I mean, this is a huge issue. I mean, China solved it by putting all the horse events in. The Olympics were held in Shanghai, but they held that out in. What is it? Somebody help me out here. They took over. They closed their Hong Kong. Thank you, because they had the ability to fly horses in and out for the racetracks, and that was the first time the Olympics had ever had an event that was 8-hour flight away. So I don't know what they're going to do here. Plus, they passed out law in LA City that the horses can't use certain spurs and whatever. Well, they use those spurs in the Olympics. So I mean, LA is just so stupid in what they do. So.
You know what? If we could rewind for a second, your last statement, LA is so stupid in what they do. It just reminded me, there's just so much to talk about. Prop 47.
Oh, please kill us all.
We talk about homelessness, but you're never going to truly solve the homeless issue unless we reverse Prop 47, because when you turned drugs into misdemeanors / infraction / no crime.
/ you let all these people out that were 3. That's the thing nobody talks about. They were 3 strikers that were doing life, and they're like, nope, we can't do that. It's crime. It's not nice.
But what you did is you turned on the welcome sign to the rest of the nation for all of the drugs of their states to come. Why would I stay here where it's a felony when I can just go to California and they don't even write you a ticket now? And we're never going to solve that. We're also not going to solve retail theft crime until we bring back petty theft with a
consequences.
prior. Yeah. We used to have the law 666 PC, petty theft with a prior. You're entitled to your one petty theft mistake. After that,
it's a felony.
It's a felony. No matter you steal a piece of pizza, it's a felony.
That story made news in the 90s.
It did. So until we fix that legislation, we're never going to be able to really turn off the floodgate.
But here's the problem. That legislation has now led to, they're now doing, I think it's in Santa Monica, where they're going to fund a program for $50-something million that they're going to give needles, and they're going to give you a certain amount of wine and a certain amount of beer and a certain amount of drugs just to keep you from getting into being not OD'd, but also not withdrawal, so we can keep you in a drug state.
Yeah.
Right where you are. I'm like, who thinks this crap up? Where do they get this? I want to know where they get
the same people decided, hey, let's tear down the parking structure for the tourists, and that's the
back
same
to what
people.
Alex was talking about earlier.
It's the same people.
You got to see what wine company is greasing them, man. They're some,
I want to know. That's a good point, Don. Who is
let's
the
see
wine
where
and beer
Gavin
company?
Newsom's vineyard
Okay,
is.
well,
Pump and Jack or
let's talk
something
about
like that.
Gavin Newsom. So he signs into the law that any company that has over 60 restaurants now has to pay minimum wage $20 no matter what it is. And sure as shit,
Unless they make bread.
Wait a minute, unless they make bread, because his friends are the owners of Bandera or something. What is
Panera.
it? Panera bread. Well, I've never eaten there. But then his restaurant in Napa or somewhere, I forget where it is, they put a job listing for, it's not even an entry level job. It's a higher level job, $16.50 an hour. I mean, what the hell? I mean, why do we still have him in office? I don't understand. How are voters so ignorant?
This is the same guy that while everything was locked down, everyone was masked up. There he was at the French Laundry.
with 12 people at his table, unmasked,
Unmasked.
sitting inches apart.
And while all the public schools were shut down, you couldn't send your kids to school.
His were still in private school.
In private school, never missed a day.
Nope.
Just like our dear friend Sheila Kuehl.
Yeah. Voted to close all the restaurants after they had all
Spent all that money.
all the money to make
go
the outdoor seating.
And
then-
where were Dawn and I that day? We were parked out front of her house. We were picketing in front of her house that day.
Nice.
Remember that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were
Oh, it
ruthless.
was Il Fornaio.
Il
And there she-
Fornaio.
there she
in-
was
in
eating.
Santa
Went
Monica
there
or
and ate.
something.
Her
Yeah.
favorite place.
Yep. And Dawn and I and David, and we had a crew of people that stood out front of her house, right on the corner.
She
But
had
it's-
police to protect her too.
Yeah,
It's
she
the,
did.
The
She had police
hypocrisy,
protection.
the double standards is just astonishing. Look at
Well, we've got 2 cases that we gave the AG on her that are still.
Obanta, who's not going to do anything about it.
Well, we couldn't believe he did anything on Turan.
Well, I think he probably is somehow involved in that. I mean, not involved like he's responsible for it, but who knows? Maybe it's one of his friends she pulled a case on. You know what I mean? It's like, why else would he? Because I don't know what he's...
Well, it's a 2-part crime, as I think we said earlier. The first part is accessing and taking the stuff away from
that's
the
classified.
department. One, and then the second step is using it unlawfully, and that's where the crime is completed, and that's where the AG now is filed the cases against her, and you have all the activists, the social justice warriors, up in arms because, oh my God, their hero, their heroine is
When is Bonta up for re-election?
No,
Or
he's
is he
going to run for
appointed?
governor.
Yeah, he
Is he
wants,
an appointed position though?
No.
No.
He's
he
elected.
was appointed,
He was appointed,
but he
then
won.
He won, and he's already fundraising to be the governor.
God help us all. We are so screwed.
There's a cast of characters there that just might. I mean, it's a collection of who's who on the far left.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any invitations from other states or other counties to implement what you implemented in our sheriff's department to be a consultant?
Surprisingly, no. You think?
Wow.
People would.
We actually said we were going to put a road show together and show everyone how to do it, and
Yeah, we.
phone never rang.
Wow.
But it's not surprising. If it's a chief of police, then in today's time of 2024,
Well, wait, chief of police is a little different because they're elected.
Exactly.
They're not
They're
elected.
not elected.
They're appointed.
So
Not the same everywhere.
count out
I
the
don't-
chiefs.
Is it? Yeah, I think it is.
Because they're just trying to hold on to their positions with whatever.
Well, look at what Karen Bass did.
Exactly.
And we're still not sure. Are they keeping him or not? What's his story? Do we know?
Don't know.
I mean, but I think the first step is that people know what you did because not enough people.
See, I'm wondering how many other cities and states know what you actually did in your department.
Well, the problem is they made so much noise with claiming what I did, which I didn't do, that it muddies the water. People don't know.
I would say that during 2020, we became the national model for 2 things, and we were highly acknowledged throughout national news all the time. We were on CNN several times. We were on Fox News all the time. Go figure, put a Democrat on. And it was for, the manner in which we handled the crowd and riot situation. No nonsense. He doesn't, again, he's too humble. Not one LA sheriff area was destroyed, seriously vandalized, or burned. And we helped Beverly Hills. We saved Beverly Hills. Mm-hmm. We tried to save Santa Monica, but their chief was too far woke. We helped LAPD on several incidents that they were not doing very well at all.
In Long Beach.
Long Beach. We helped Long Beach when their chief was sending emails.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. Isn't he now the sheriff?
Yeah, he was busy at home sending emails while this guy was out in the field leading from the front in other jurisdictions to help them. But we became the national model for that, and
COVID.
and also for COVID,
The jails.
depopulation of the jails and COVID awareness within the largest custody facility in the world. And he actually got recognized national award. What was that one?
American Jail Association
American Jail
Innovation
Association.
Award.
For the manner in which we handled COVID in the jails. Our percentages of COVID exposure within the jails was far lower than the public.
We
Just
were
regular out.
we were twice as safe being in the jail than being on the street. But if you listen to all the critics, oh my God, the humanity, everybody's dying in the jails, and it was
Not
exactly
our jails.
it was the exact opposite because they were looking at Terminal Island, they were looking at the state prison system. Chino sent a bunch of infected COVID people to San Quentin, and a bunch of San Quentin people died. I mean, they did some really stupid things, and we had the exact opposite. Everybody was healthy and safe. We had isolation. We had quarantine protocols. We did all that.
Oh God, in New York.
Oh yeah. So
I wonder if he'll ever be tried for that.
And we didn't have the budget. They cut all of our money. But we were able to get community groups to give us donations. And with those donations, we had cleaning supplies, masks, Clorox wipes, and we
even set up a decon for the N95 masks.
That's right.
Because they were going to be in short supply.
Only one in the nation.
Wow.
UCLA, one of their departments had this machine. We found out about it. We asked them if we could use it, and we set up a M95 reconditioning center. So once the masks were used, you could hang them in this room, use this ionization system, repurify them, and reissue them.
How cool is that? I mean, you know what? I think you guys need to put together a campaign about what you guys did in the sheriff's department. I know it sounds kind of like, hunky-dory, whatever. But I mean, I think you guys should, because I don't think
It's called
people...
theory to practice, or practice theory, or something.
It was
Yeah.
some dissertation you wrote.
Theory and practice.
Well, we're busy. I'm busy writing a book,
Are you really?
and we're working our way through the hardest chapters, which is the beginnings.
If I could
Beginnings
interject.
So what's the beginning of your book? From when you ran for office?
No, that's probably gonna be the middle of the book.
Yeah.
It's about the middle of the book.
Okay, so the book you're writing, so you're starting from like your very beginnings as a child? Oh, so you're writing a biography, like a memoir.
Well, it's gonna be tilted towards sheriff,
Right.
and that's like the culmination. But
Right.
There's a story, obviously. How did I get? I didn't just show up one day. Hey,
Yeah, how did you show up one day to run for office?
There'll be some pretty good chapters in there.
yeah. There's a lot of material between. Well, you already seen the part
Yeah.
me growing up, and I got him to shed a tear out of his one good eye. And then we move on. Now I'm getting to transitioning towards applying to the department.
Oh, very cool.
And then there's so many things about once I was a deputy, sergeant, lieutenant, and then probably the second half entirely would be all about
The battles.
The battles.
Okay, well, you know what, though? I think you need to put a whole 2 or 3 chapters in about the things we've talked about tonight, about what you did. Because I think people really need to really understand the changes that you made in law enforcement that should be made throughout the U.S. When we had Alex, when we had John McKinney on, and he talked about how they're trying to change the jail system to, or was it John McKinney, or was it, no, it was Hector. We had Hector on.
Who was a deputy?
He was a deputy in the state prison system. You're seeing him a lot. He's been around a lot. He was talking about how they want to make I actually think that McKinney talked about it too. They want to take the prisons and make them look more like they do in
Oh, it's the Netherlands.
Then is it the Netherlands, or is it the
Denmark?
Denmark. It's Denmark. Where they have a population, their entire population is 10,000 people. I mean, it's like some ridiculous low amount of people. But you can make a prison like that when there's like 5 people in prison.
Yeah, there's a big term in public administration called generalizability. There's a big fancy word, but basically, you may discover something. Okay, works great there, but you can't generalize it to this, especially when you're going from small to large.
Yeah,
it doesn't repopulate
doesn't
well.
translate well.
There's another thing in public administration also called the law of unintended consequences.
Yes.
That actually something I want to interject that I forgot to interject a while back. So another example of the board sabotaging the community, through the law of unintended consequences.
I love the board sabotaging the community. That is so true. What a great
100%.
statement.
So we talked about Alex's dissertation. My dissertation was training in law enforcement, infusing 21st century policing concepts into the organizational culture. And as soon as Alex became sheriff, that got implemented. Training Bureau went through every single training curriculum and revised it.
Wow.
And all of the things from 21st century policing that we've learned, which really date all the way back to Sir Robert Peel back in
1850.
the 1850s.
Wow.
In London. And
Right.
the Peelian principles.
The people are the police are the people.
The seventh Peelian principle.
Wow.
The police being those members of the public who are paid to give full attention to the duties that are incumbent on every citizen in the interest of community welfare and existence. Booyah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Villanueva.
That was great, Alex.
So
oh my God.
we were able to completely revamp our training curriculum to this incredibly high modern standard. And then they cut our budget and they cut our personnel and they cut our hiring. Mm-hmm. And okay, great. We've got the best training probably in the nation, and we can't send anyone to it.
Wow. And that training now doesn't even exist because under the new sheriff, he's not doing anything.
They're in just survival mode now.
California, the state of California has a commission called the Post Commission. It's Police Officer Standards and Training, and they're the ones that issue the certificate for a police officer to have a job.
Okay.
And they serve as a credentialing unit, state credentialing for law enforcement. And there are certain training requirements that have been set down through legislation that Post is in charge of.
Another success.
Yeah. We had the highest Post compliance that the department had seen in 20 years.
Wow.
And then the board sabotaged the community. And we could no longer train anyone. And now, currently, they're probably the lowest compliance they've ever had.
McDonald had it at 22% compliance with state standards.
Damn.
We brought it up to 55.
Wow.
With people, you can do wonderful things. Without people, who are you going to pull from patrol to go to training, and who
Right.
works patrol? There's no one left.
And you can't even throw a budget at it, because if I say I need to train someone, I could put a $20,000 stack of cash on the front seat of a radio car. It doesn't know how to put the car in drive and drive it.
Yeah,
you got to have a live human being.
Right. Right.
They don't have the personnel.
So, this has been such a great interview, and I'm sure you guys have a long drive. So I'm going to leave you with one last question, and that is, who's going to be the sheriff at the next election? Because it ain't going to be Luna, is it?
I don't see that happening.
I would like to see some real competitors come out and throw their hat in the ring, like this man here did when he said that I can do that job better.
Would you run?
I don't know. I don't think it's in my cards. I'm more of a assist
And
the
support?
previous sheriff guy.
Would you run again, Alex?
That's a big question. That's something my wife and I have to think long and hard about, because
It's a
we
lot
were
of work.
successful on so many fronts, but at the same time there was a price to pay because
There's
of
always a price to pay.
the unrelenting opposition I got from every corner, from the media, from the Board of Supervisors, the Democratic, my own party, trying to kill me, literally. And I look at Newsom. He fails spectacularly at everything he does, yet he has a fawning media and a very accommodating state legislature that grants him every wish he wants. What an easy, charming life. For us, it was basically 4 years of hell. So to go back and revisit that, I'd have to think long and hard before I would ever make that decision.
If you didn't decide to run, is there anybody that you know of that you think could fill the shoes you wore and do it well?
There's probably 2 or 3 people, if given the opportunity, could make a go at it. And,
Would they be willing?
Don't know if they'd be willing, but I know that they at least have their hearts in the right place, and they have some of the basics. They have a long-term commitment for the welfare of the organization. That's a huge requirement.
2 other people in the room.
Because remember, McDowell and Luna share something in common. They both had no vested interest in the outcome for the organization.
Right.
Because they were outsiders. They couldn't care.
It's a rental car.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares if you scratch it?
If any of those individuals were to decide to run and make it in, would you go back in and become part of the administration if asked? Consulting. I mean, in any capacity.
Someone who got there honestly for the right reason, wanted to reach out for help, we'd always give them the help. Yeah. Hence, we've never heard from Luna. We never will. And, but
that's a great point. Let me expand on that for a second. More reforms than the last 5 sheriffs, more transparent than any sheriff in the history of LA County, and the phone hasn't rang one time for a, hey, how do you do this?
We did 104 town halls in 4 years.
You were doing town halls all the time.
And we always went out and met the public wherever they were at, whichever way we could. And we took on the haters, we took on the activists, and met them straight up and challenged them, and didn't shy away from it. And we went back and talked to the patrol personnel about what the community says. We always had a post meeting with the deputy personnel so they could get a firsthand, what the perception was of what their work was, and it worked. And it was very organic. It wasn't coerced in any way. And then we'd have deputies would start showing up to our meetings with the deputies. We're not even working. They heard we were in town, and they'd show up off duty. Wow. Just to listen. And so that meant the message was penetrating. And because you can't conceal or fake sincerity. Right. Either you have it or you don't, and people will perceive it.
Here's a quick story for you on that. There was a deputy-involved shooting that occurred in East LA, at East LA Station, and I believe it was in Cudahy. And the whole thing was horrible. He didn't die, but he was injured with a gunshot wound. And a couple days later, a lawyer and the boy's mother, the young man's mother, showed up in front of the Hall of Justice to hold a press conference and bring attention to this. And we looked out the window and saw it, and then turned on the news to see what it was. And Alex says, hey, go down there and see if they want to come up and have a conversation. Name one person that's ever.
And this was the one that shot the officer?
No. We were called to the location. We weren't given all the proper information. The person was suffering from
depression, I think.
And was suicidal. They didn't tell us that. And he grabbed for the deputy's gun and tried to take the deputy's gun.
Got it, okay.
The partner shot him.
I remember that.
Non-fatal. And I went downstairs, and after they were done with the press conference, I approached the attorney and the mother and asked them if they would like to come upstairs to talk. They looked at me funny and said, yeah. And I brought them upstairs. Mom spoke no English, spoke Spanish only. And Alex told her, how sorry he is for what she's going through right now, and he feels her pain. And she cried, and he gave her a hug. And then the attorney started trying to attorney, and we told him, hey, that's not what this is about. There's time for that, but we want her to know that we understand her pain. Name one sheriff that's ever done that, ever. Name one politician that's ever done that.
None. I mean, those are the things that are so...
Not without Photoshop.
Not without it, yeah. I mean,
No.
That's a story, no, I don't think any of us have
and there
ever
was
heard.
no photos. We did it in the small EPC, or
Yeah.
and No recordings, no cameras.
I mean, this is a story that's being told that there's no, I mean, nobody knows about it except the people that were in that room and now our audience because you're sharing it.
There's so many stories like that no one will ever know.
No, they will know because you're going to put those in your book.
If we can remember them all.
Some of them.
But those are the kind of stories that need to be told, because behind the scenes, those kind of stories are important.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people need to understand what they lost because they weren't willing to stand up for it. And we're going to lose our Constitution. We're going to lose this country because people don't want to stand up for what it means. When you look at what happened in Israel on October 7th, Israel's the only country in the world that had people come from all over the world, Jewish, not Jewish, Christian, Muslim, whatever they were, to go fight for Israel. And we've lost that in this country. And it's because of men like you that have stood up and taken the choice to be in law enforcement, do what you do, stand in our military, save our country, and do those things. You know, we're so, so grateful. And the Monroe family who supports this podcast and our radio station and our candidates, he's written you checks on multiple occasions. You know, these are the people, these are the three men in the room that matter. And I'm so grateful for the three of you. And we could sit here and talk all night, but it's coming up to 10 o'clock and you guys have a drive and I got to be up early. He's got to be up early. So thank you so much for being on. Jeffy said, what? And Alex, it's always a great pleasure to have you on. I call you, you say, yeah, sure, I can come. And you show up and then you bring great guests to come with you. And I can't wait for the next time we bring you on. So, and
Looking
I can't
forward
wait to
to
hear
it.
about that book either. When's it going to be done?
We had to take a brief pause because of the legal activity, but we'll be back to.
Well, we're going through Dennis like crazy right now because to get Alex to write something nice about himself is
And you're going
literally pulling teeth.
Oh,
So we've got a whole Rolodex of Dennis that we're going through.
it's pretty funny. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. And till next time.
Yes.
Thank you.